Hi guys, happy Friday. I hope everyone's had a productive week and is getting ready to have an excellent weekend. In this video, I'm going to be looking into the question, who has developed romantic feelings for you and are they going to speak up about this? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the red Jasper heart. Group 2 is the rose quartz heart. And group 3 is the blue fluorite heart. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the red Jasper heart. So let's start by taking a look into who has developed romantic feelings for you. Okay, so to start with, we have the Brother in Darkness, Chariot of Ascension, and Divine Guardian. So with these energies, I'm hearing keeping a low profile. So it feels most likely that this is somebody who is at a distance from you that you've either had very little communication with, or it's kind of just been very brief or surface level. Might even be somebody that's just admiring your socials from afar. So if you put out content, for example, like if you're a creator or an influencer, this could be somebody that is like a fan, a subscriber, a follower, somebody that would have popped up on like that kind of social media, and they may be liking things, they may be leaving little comments, there may be some back and forth in that capacity. But it feels like something that they haven't yet reached out as far as to like speak about anything personal. Like if they've messaged you or maybe have purchased some kind of like service or product that you offer, there could have been some back and forth in that capacity, but they almost would have disguised themselves as, oh, I'm just a client, I'm just coming forth as a customer. And it's something to where there's also this element of whatever it is that you do or whatever it is that you put out there, this may be very much like an opposites attract sort of situation. So this could be something where they're like an algorithm recommended you, or somebody else that's like a fan or a follower or subscriber sent this person something, like forwarded some of your content to them, and it really kind of caught their attention in some sort of way. And so it feels like they've needed to sort of observe from afar, because there's a sense that they were almost drawn to you through kind of this higher sort of knowing, almost like a spidey sense or like a soul inclination of you're somebody that's holding like an energy of divine light. You could be a light worker, or you're in some kind of like healing or helping profession, something where you try to like inform and uplift people. And so the message that you put forth, or the vibe that you put into your work, or kind of the nature of the content that you make, it's very outside of the realm of what this person normally is taking in as far as information or media. It's very different in terms of like people in their day-to-day reality, or like most people in their day-to-day reality, and the things that those people are discussing, the kind of things those people are like sharing on social media or are involved in. So there's almost a sense of kind of, you've piqued this person's curiosity in a way that it's kind of concurrent with their own sort of like ascension, spiritual growth, or even just starting to kind of entertain the possibility of like them having this romantic attraction to someone that doesn't fit the mold of like typical people that they date, people they're typically drawn to romantically. There's something about like your energy, your light, your voice, the words that you use, or the things that you focus on to like share with others, to help others, to try and uplift or heal others, that this is something that is very, again, like inspirational to this person on like a personal level. And I'm hearing, I didn't know I needed that. So it may even be where you've helped this person to sort of puzzle through things that they could have just like had in their shadow, or things where they may have felt very kind of out of place with people in their life, like nobody to really discuss anything with. And so it's kind of just been tucked away within. This person is like stepping in some way into more of like an enlightened version of themselves within. But there's some part of them, it feels like, that is almost, they're curious about you. They're needing to kind of expand the nature of their knowledge or information. So maybe things that you like talk about, or you present, or you put out there, or you're kind of like are a major part of your life in some way, which is how it feels like this person has come into an awareness of you, or has come into contact with you in some capacity. It's almost like they feel that in order to kind of have a deeper conversation with you in some sort of way, or to start to explore these romantic feelings, it goes hand in hand with them kind of furthering their knowledge or information about things. That could have to do with like spirituality or healing, ascension, things of that nature. Just whatever it is that you put out there, it's like open up a whole new world for this person. And so there's a sense of them kind of feeling, maybe based on the fact that it's like long distance, or this is somebody over social media, that there's kind of the sense of like, I don't know how to approach this. I don't know how to come across as not just some creep on the internet spitting game. I don't know how to come across as like somebody who would be a serious person of interest, or somebody that you'd potentially want to get to know, because it's almost like they're putting themselves in your shoes. Like if I were in your shoes and some random just like reached out and tried to sort of start some sort of conversation, or went directly into romance, like I'd block that person. I wouldn't respond to that person. My walls would go up, my guard would go up. So this is somebody, it feels like, that has like a high level of emotional intelligence. They may be just very intelligent in general, or there's a sense of almost they've got their ego in check enough within themselves, or it's kind of like coming into that place where they're understanding like, I need to keep my ego in check, because they're very like attracted to you, curious about you, drawn to you, want to get to know you on a personal level, because whatever they're seeing or whatever they've experienced in like the virtual world so far, it's like they're fascinated by the way that your mind works. They're fascinated by what you're kind of like choosing to put out there, or something that's like a big focus of your life. But there's a sense of almost, it requires a departure for this person from just sort of the typical methods that they go through in order to kind of explore possibilities with others romantically. It doesn't feel like this is anybody on a dating website. This would be somebody that would just have to do with like personal content or social media in some sort of way. It's also possible with this idea of like divine guardian and sort of this guardian angel energy, there may be somebody, like if you don't post a whole lot of things about that, your beliefs or your practices, or what you're sort of involved in as far as, like spirituality, new age, metaphysical things, things of that nature, then it may even just be somebody that like knows you as a person, like in your day-to-day reality, that has like told this individual about you, things that you might have just shared in conversation with a specific person, and they almost might have been like, to somebody else, I think you'd be interested in this person. I think you'd like to hear what they have to say, or they may have even just sort of passed along guidance or advice or things that you talked about to this individual who is now developing romantic feelings for you. And that person could have been like, wow, they sound so interesting. Like, who is that? Where'd you learn that? Where, what is involved with kind of like that process of things? And so this may be somebody that has like shown someone your personal social media. Like if you're not like posting content and things of that nature, this can be somebody that like is looking at you and your kind of virtual footprint through someone else's profile, or is kind of observing in that sense. And so pictures that you put up, or anything that you've kind of put up, they're very like drawn to that. They're very attracted to that. Let's take a look and let's get a little more information, just for a couple more bits of clarity as far as like who they are or what you need to know about that. Okay, so we have the Nine of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, and the Empress. Yeah, so this can definitely be somebody that is like a friend of a friend, somebody through like a family member of theirs or even yours has come across like what you have going on. They're in this pure observer mode where it's almost like they've heard of you, but you wouldn't have heard of them. If they've come forth like with that Eight of Pentacles, like if you offer services or products, then it's likely that this person has been a client or customer at some point in time, or is even kind of dog-eared something. They favorited something, they saved something, they put it in their cart. There's been some activity or kind of like an energetic insertion of their presence. Maybe they even like followed or favorited your shop or your website, or again, like any kind of content that you put out there. They definitely would be in that, like the face in the crowd, but somebody that they have almost like the front seat to what you have going on. They're in like the front row sort of observing that, but for you it's kind of just one of the many people that come to you for products or services, one of the many people that watch what you put out there in terms of your content, one of the many people that sort of like things or share things. It's almost giving the energy of kind of like things are sort of like saved for later, or they've shared even some of your content with other people. This is somebody that's almost, they've been drawn to you as part of like a fan base or an admirer base, but then they've also kind of brought other people to you as well. Other people to where this is almost something that it feels like if this person is successful in kind of navigating this process of how do I not just get thrown in the trash as some weirdo off the internet, spitting game and like trying to make a move and coming across like in a creepy sort of way. If they're able in some sort of manner to kind of broach this barrier of like professionalism or anonymity or just like whatever that looks like, and sort of get in there and talk to you and explore things, and if this is the kind of person you'd be attracted to or interested in as well, then it would be something where it would become very apparent, like they would want to include that portion of almost like, I admire your work, I like your attitude, I like your vibe, I like your message, I like what you're putting out there. I don't just like it myself, but I've shared this with other people, or I've turned other people on to this, and others in my life have found value, others in my life have found meaning. It may even be something that you do or that you put out there. It may not necessarily apply to like their life or their situation, but it's almost like there's someone in their life who would benefit from that. There's someone in their life that would resonate with this, that has either been that conduit to kind of sharing that or being the bridge between you and this individual, or this individual is like serving as that between you and kind of what you have going on in your personal life, in your spiritual life, in your professional life, and like somebody else, or even kind of like a group of people in their life that it's kind of like, okay, they'd benefit from that. They'd resonate with that. This feels along the lines of the vibe that they're operating at. So it feels like this person brings with them a pretty tight circle as far as like family and friends. And it's the kind of thing where this person may almost, it almost feels like they're asking other people for advice, or other people are kind of like looking as well and sort of giving this person, or will be giving this person, their 2 cents as far as like what they should do, what they should say, the best kind of way to go about this so that you would take this person seriously. If they're able to, again, kind of step beyond that sort of observer, fan, follower, subscriber, client into kind of deeper territory with one another. If it is a client, though, again, it's giving kind of the impression here of not someone you've had like face-to-face interactions with. There would have been just something like virtual. So there would have probably been no, like, you're talking to one another. There would have been like no phone calls, no FaceTimes, no Skype, nothing like that. Yet it would have just been something where it would have been kind of an exchange of like name and information like that. And so there wouldn't have been like this person sort of knew what they were looking towards, what they were looking at. And for you, it might have just been like, okay, somebody else that's come through my shop door or has, presented interest on my website, or who has ordered something, or who has requested something. Like you would at this point would not be able to distinguish this person from like other people that you've been dealing with. So they definitely are somebody that stands where the ball is like completely in their court. You wouldn't even like know who this person is to like, oh, I'll make the first move. Like it's totally, the power is in their hands to kind of give birth to something, to either just continue to sort of sit in the shadows or take that step forward in the direction of the unexplored potential. So let's take a look now and see, are they going to do something about this? Are they going to speak up about this? Are they going to come up with a plan or a strategy to kind of come out of this observer mode with you? Okay, so we have frog, camel, and nightingale. So it feels like this person is currently sort of sitting in this energy of uncertainty because of what they perceive to be apparent material differences between the two of you. And this is interesting. I'm hearing I'm a square. So it's somebody that may think they're kind of like, they're boring, they're dull, they're too straight edge, they're a square. Like what would somebody like you really see in somebody like them? Like they're struggling to kind of pick at this and kind of move away from almost something that might be kind of a lack mentality that's come up that could be kind of unusual for this person. It feels like this is somebody who's normally very secure in themselves. They have the routine in life. They're very like happy within their life. They've got a lot going for them. And so this draw or this attraction to you has kind of like brought some things up from their shadow at this particular point in time, where there's almost like a fear of rejection, a fear of like, maybe I take a step forward thinking, you're going to kiss me and I'll turn into the prince, or you'll see me for like who I am, or I'll turn into the princess and you'll see me for who I am, like that's what you want. But then there's also this uncertainty, like if I take that step forward, am I just going to remain a frog? Am I just going to remain this kind of like creature that you're sort of like, okay, this isn't what I'm looking for. This isn't, you haven't unveiled something worthwhile to me. You're not presenting the compatibility that I'm seeking with. Like there's a lot of unknowns in this capacity. And so it feels like with this idea of the camel, this suggests that at least for the immediate future, that this is kind of like keeping those emotions deeply within, remaining hidden within those shadows, and feeling almost kind of like they need to go through some other kind of deepening of like a transformation. So maybe this is learning more about kind of the nature of what they perceive that you have going on, or kind of your focus, or whatever it is that you do, or you sell, or you share, or you provide, that in some way is different from this person's worldview, or it's different from, other people in their life and like their primary focus, where there's almost a sense of kind of, this person isn't operating in this energy of like, how are people in my reality going to accept you? But it's a sense of like, am I acceptable within your reality? And so it's something that it feels like they, again, with this idea of like an ascension here, this person and like this energy of the shadow, this may be somebody that's kind of not like fully full-blown kind of like dark night of the soul, but there's almost just a sense of sort of like to reach that place of, I'm going to take that leap of faith and whatever happens, happens. It's almost like they have to walk through that valley of the shadow of darkness within themselves, something that is definitely an element within the shadow that they've never considered it before. Like, even if there's been people in the past where it's like, okay, I'm really intimidated by this person, I find them really attractive, I find them really intriguing, it's been for different sort of reasons, that there may have been hesitation or even failure to act. But with you, it's almost, there's a sense of kind of like, who I am as a person, is that enough? Does that align with kind of the vibe that you're putting out, or what is kind of radiating off of you energetically? Like questions that this person never would have asked in terms of worthiness before. So this can almost be something where you've been like a catalyst for this person through into some kind of aspect of their own sort of spiritual journey. Like they've identified themselves by what they do, how much money they have, their home ownership status, status within the community, how their family feels about them, all those kind of typical things that sort of make up kind of the 3D version of one's kind of character, one's worthiness, one's perception of self. Like they're very satisfied in that sense. And this isn't somebody that operates deeply within ego. Like everybody operates within ego, but it feels like this is somebody that is kind of, they have their ego in check, or they've got something where that ego doesn't bring out like the dark side or the toxicity within them. And in keeping with that, it's almost like this is a manageable aspect of the shadow that regardless of if they make a move towards you some point in the future, because again, it feels like immediately they'll kind of just sit and watch and kind of take it all in, ingest it in, maybe even sort of talk about this or get some sort of strategies or opinions or advice from other people that in some sort of way could resonate or could understand the sense of like, I'm attracted to this person, I'm drawn to this person. It's more than for just like physically attractive reasons. And rather than take a leap of faith, I find myself all of a sudden wondering like if I match up or I'm good enough, that this is something that is kind of essential for this person's sense of self moving forward. It's almost kind of, it's bringing to mind somebody that also may be in kind of an age bracket where they're going through like a Saturn return. And so kind of like a big evaluation of like, okay, my life at this point, choices I have to make that determine like bigger cycles carrying on for like decades. So Saturn returns usually happen for people every like 30 years roughly. So this may be somebody that is, like in that category somewhere around like between like 28 and 32, or they might even be between like 58 and 64, just kind of take that as it resonates. And so this can kind of play into that energy of it's more than just about, I'm attracted to this person, do I take a step forward? There may be something in terms of, for that bigger sort of path that they will be navigating in the decades of their life to come, you've turned on a light or you've begun this process of transformation within this person where it's more than just looking around at their material trappings of their life and saying, am I happy with that? But it's like, am I happy with who I am as a person? Do I feel good inside? And if so, what about me doesn't feel worthy of better things, and what can I do to change that? So like on the other side of some kind of exploration within, it's possible that they could take that leap of faith forward. But it feels like at this point, kind of your primary role at this time, because again, the ball's in their court, however much they let fear stop them or they continue to move through that, that's their choice. But like your role at this point was meant to like illuminate or awaken something, activate something within this person. So you definitely, there's a lot of feelings that are kind of like, okay, these feel right, these feel certain, but then they're kind of, when it comes to the idea of doing something more, saying something more, there's a whole lot of a sense of like, I don't know that the reality of me would match up for what I'm projecting onto you or just assuming would be what you're looking for in a partner. So let's get a couple of message cards from this person's higher self and see what they want you to know. Okay, and we have, I dream about you all the time, and when I wake up, I swear it feels like we were really together. So there's a lot of fantasizing, a lot of daydream, a lot of sexual energy that is sent your way. It's almost like they can't help it. They're very attracted to you, and it feels like that's why it's so conflicting for this person, or it's almost like a rite of passage for them to navigate through this darkness before they can reach out to you, because it's like all the signs are pointing them in the direction of saying something. Everything within their body, everything within their emotion is like, yeah, I want to explore something. I want to get to know this person. I want to put myself out there. But then when it comes to just doing that, there's a lot of struggle with kind of what would your reaction be? What would your response be? So they're kind of giving their power away in this situation to that. They're empowering that fear. But it's a sense of, just because they're silent, this isn't somebody that's like, I'm just going to sit and watch and you'll forever be out of reach. It's almost like they're trying to peer into that darkness within them and sort of like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling this weird sort of hesitation. How do I push forth through that? I also say, I've gained a lot of insight into the meaning of our connection, and I want to share with you where I see you in my future. So this is more that energy that they have other people that they've sort of communicated to about this, sort of explain the situation, people in their life that may be sort of open-minded or able to hold space for the nature of this. There's something where it's almost like this person might have tried online dating. They don't have problems with approaching, a stranger online in that sense, but when it comes to you, there's almost a sense of, I've got to do this a different sort of way. I've got to do this right. And so they may be trying to kind of troubleshoot that with people in their life that can't necessarily understand their full motivation. It feels for that hesitation. They may be getting a lot of advice, like, just go for it, just do it. Seems like a nice person. It seems like a friendly person. You won't know until you try. And so they're struggling to kind of work out like an exact strategy, because nobody can kind of fully put themselves in this person's shoes, and yet they do seem to have people that are able to kind of hold space for them enough while they move through this energy of like uncertainty to come into their place of empowerment. They also say, you make me so happy, I can't wipe the smile off my face. Yes, you have lit a spark within this person. You've activated them in some way. You've operated as a catalyst for somebody that should maybe, kind of give you a boost of confidence as far as the impact of your energy or your light or your message or your work or whatever it is that you're doing. That like, even if this person never transcends that kind of like, I don't think I'm good enough for you, it's almost like this person is now set forth, or you've been kind of an instrumental part or continue to be a part in this person's own kind of like self-discovery journey, or something where they're having to kind of look within, where a mirror's been held up for them in terms of like an aspect of lack within that they had not known before. And so there's almost a sense of, you've served some sort of purpose in that sense, not just for this person, but maybe even like others within your community or others that kind of like come across you as well. That this person is like not something totally anomalous. There may be other people over the course of your career or your life, or maybe already so far, that develop these romantic feelings, but then they collide with kind of that fear or that sense of lack within. And it's like, that's kind of the test. If they're able to sort of continue along that path of personal growth, then it's kind of like, not everybody will just sit there kind of pining for you from afar. That people such as this individual are kind of tasked with this element of like, okay, you're drawn to this person's light. Well, now you need to find that light within, because you can't match that light with darkness. You can't serve a cup of darkness to someone operating in that high frequency and expect that it's going to be kind of received well. And so this person is like currently in this process of ascending in some sort of way to possibly come to the point of being able to feel like, you know what, I don't know if I don't try, so I'm just going to put myself out there. And then regardless of if it's, you're compatible or you're available or you're interested or kind of what that long-term result is, in some sort of way, it's like a rite of passage to seize that moment, to choose the light over like continuing to perpetuate sort of fear and lack and kind of this loss mentality that they're sort of situated in currently. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got H, I, F, K, G, O, O, N, F, R, E, S, G, T, C, M, H, B, B, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the rose quartz heart. So let's start by taking a look at who has developed romantic feelings for you. Okay, we have Temple of Black Obsidian, the Brother in Darkness, and the Key of Life. So these are the energies of somebody that might represent almost like a missed opportunity from your past. Somebody that either failed to take a leap of faith forward because there could have been competition in the mix and they almost didn't feel up to the challenge or didn't feel like they had something to offer, like they were intimidated by other people that they knew of that were expressing romantic intentions towards you. This could have also been somebody that was part of a friend group and like somebody else in the friend group was like, I saw her first, I saw him first, that one's mine, had like laid claim or had stepped in and had like presented themselves to you prior to this person being able to do it. So they were almost like bested by the competition. You could have gone on to have a romantic connection with somebody else, or even had gone out maybe just on a few dates and it didn't really turn into anything, or there could have been like a brief talking stage between you and another person that failed to thrive, it failed to turn into anything. And so it's almost like you went your separate ways from whatever that third party energy might have been. Even the sense of somebody that might not have necessarily taken that step to talk to you directly, but could have like seen you or found out about you or kind of met you at the same time as this other person. And because it was almost like a friend or even like, a friend that would have been close enough that they're like, that's my brother, that's my sister, that's, whatever that kind of dynamic looks like, that it almost, they would have felt that it would have been stepping on someone else's toes to explore that romantic potential with you. It's possible this could also be somebody that is like a friend of an ex of yours, or someone that used to be friends with an ex of yours. It doesn't feel like anything that would have been like close, intimate, like best friend, but just somebody that would have like known that other person socially, or could have even been sort of part of like a larger friend group, or somebody that was like a part of their past, a part of their childhood in some sort of way. It's almost like the idea of you previously felt off limits because of the involvement or the thought of like, would that be disloyal? Would it be stepping on the toes of somebody else that fumbled you? Somebody else that either broke your heart or had kind of like laid claim to the possibility of like, I'm interested in that person, I'm attracted to that person, and they either never did anything about it, but this kind of like code of loyalty, this like code of brotherhood would have made this person in the past feel like, even though this other person messed up in the situation or didn't do anything, that they were somehow locked out of that possibility because what would other people think? Again, this kind of like idea about like loyalty or disloyalty. And it feels like this would have been something where there may have been some, if you had ever interacted face to face with this person, like in great depth or with great frequency, there might have almost been something in like the nature of your eye contact with one another, something very unspoken, very intense, where they could have been somebody that was very quiet in your presence. They may have had a hard time interacting with you, brief and intense conversations, and then periods of time where they may have just kind of given you the cold shoulder or ignored you. Almost somebody that was like actively sort of trying to fight their feelings. Like it was very hard for them to be just sitting there and kind of pretending that they didn't have these deep feelings, sitting there and pretending that they weren't jealous of this other person who, regardless of the nature, if that was just someone else that they knew with a crush and that person never did anything about it, or maybe they did that and kind of fumbled the situation, it's a sense that this person always felt like he was never right for you. She was never right for you. That should be me right there. Like, I would treat you right. I would have treated you different. But it feels like it brings forth complications like, there may have been something where it was just very hard for this person to be around you because it brought up a lot of critical feelings towards this other individual, this other kind of competition that it feels like at the time would have been like, well, I have to prioritize that person because they're my friend. I can't let a woman come between us. I can't let a guy come between us. I can't let somebody come in between us. And yet this would have been somebody that really saw themselves as the better man or the better woman for you. And so there would have been a lot of struggle as far as repressing those things that could have led to a sense of, with this person, you might have almost wondered, like, is this a soul connection? I feel something so intense, but then how they're acting in the 3D world, it's giving me conflicting feelings. So it may have been something where if this person, because it feels like they've, whatever that sort of third energy is, whatever that other person or that other friend group, that other sort of thing that had acted as the obstacle or like the prohibition through some kind of code of ethics or like a code of loyalty, a code of brotherhood, whatever that whole dynamic was between this person that has developed these romantic feelings, and it's, I'm hearing still has, so like somebody who still has romantic feelings for you, and that other person, like that situation between them is like dead and gone. It's fallen apart. They're no longer friends, or they're no longer in each other's lives in that way. These are two people who may have had like a falling out. It's not just like we don't speak, but it could be like two people that are now basically enemies with one another. And so there's a sense of this person no longer feels that same, I need to just suppress my feelings or deny my feelings because of like somebody else. It's almost like they're at a place right now of sort of, there's nothing standing between this. There's nothing other than kind of the memory of a previous arrangement, proximity, dynamic between them, you, and somebody else. There's only the memory of that being prohibitive, whether it actually was, or this person was just kind of like, okay, this other individual sort of like laid claim. They didn't handle the situation properly, or they didn't do anything about it at all, but then I'm going forth and I'm still friends with that person. I'm still hanging out with that person. I'm still like, I still got allegiances to that person for a period of time. And so it was something where it was like that other person made you into somebody off limits for them that other situation, it feels like, has fallen apart. It's something that it's closed, it's broken. There's no kind of fixing that. There may have been some major falling out where this isn't like past person from your life or your experience, like somebody in their crew, somebody in their friend circle kind of like coming in. This would be something that it would be the kind of person like, yeah, I don't talk to them anymore. I cut them off, or we had this falling out. It's broken beyond repair. I don't like that person. I don't respect that person. I don't want anything to do with that person, that third sort of energy. And so it's something where it would almost be like you'd have to meet this person just as like themselves as an individual, because you would have known them in the context of, oh, that's so-and-so's friend. Oh, that's somebody that so-and-so grew up with in childhood. Oh, that's somebody that's, part of their social circle. Or this might even been like groups of coworkers, almost like if you worked in sort of like big office spaces. It feels like this wouldn't have been somebody you worked with, but they may have been somebody worked at like a neighboring company. So you would have seen people or socialized with people in some kind of way at like, restaurants or coffee shops that would, it's almost bringing to mind the idea of like a big like office building, like a high rise, and many different companies, many different organizations, each with their own kind of operation going on. And then sort of the places that would, provide like lunch or beverages kind of in that surrounding area. People interacting with people from those different sort of groups or organizations in that sense, but then there's no kind of interactions outside of that. So this could have been somebody that was like a coworker of someone that saw you out with your coworkers, and so you had that kind of common understanding. But it feels like it would have been something where there would have been kind of limited, or almost like it would have felt very tense with this person. Like you wouldn't have been able to read them very well. They would have given off a very kind of like cold energy, intense in the eyes, but then very cold as far as what they presented to you. So if that's the case, where there's some kind of like work connection here in a way, then it feels like they might not even like work with that company, work with those people, be involved with that anymore. You also may have gone on to other things. And so there's almost a sense of with them of kind of like, well, what does hold me back at this point? Those same kind of, all the things that I thought were, set in stone, no, this could never happen, those aren't factors anymore. So why am I holding this back? So let's get a little bit more about who this person is that has developed these romantic feelings, or as it seems like still has interest in you. So we've got the Four of Wands, Five of Cups, and the Ten of Wands. Yes, this is definitely the energy of like a third party that was involved in the situation that made this person have to just kind of like be quiet about their feelings. Or when they look to you in this situation in the past, it was like, oh, well, that can't ever work because this person moved in first. That can't ever work because my buddy's dating her, or, my girlfriend's dating him, or like whatever that sort of looks like. Or even somebody that might not have necessarily dated, but just was like, I'm making that move, I'm making that approach. Somebody else that might have kind of just swooped in and sort of laid claim. It feels like something that it might have even been something as far as like a person that was a third party that could have almost been like very, very jealous of this individual, kind of like a frenemy sort of energy, where this person could have been the one to first sort of say, hey, I'm attracted to this person, hey, I got a crush on this person, and this other individual, while they hesitated, or while they were like sitting in this energy of like, yeah, I think I'm going to approach him. Yeah, I think I'm going to approach her. All of a sudden, this other person makes a move, or, sort of takes on a more dominant role in that capacity, to where it's the sense of almost like in the past, this person might have assumed rightly or incorrectly that like to make those feelings known or explore those in some sort of way would have caused burdens, would have caused problems, would have caused upset. And so it's something that, despite the fact that there was attraction, there was some kind of compatibility that they sensed, maybe in that idea of like the intense eye contact and feeling very pulled into your energy, seeing you in this very, like, regardless of gender, but this very strong sort of feminine energy, this very magnetic energy, something where it's like that would have really intrigued them, but they might have just sort of chalked it up to maybe in another life. And then time's kind of gone on and they've let go of a lot of those burdens. It feels like that third party energy or person was definitely a big burden in this individual's life. So this is somebody that would have had like a major falling out with someone that could have even reshaped the nature of how they're living their life in general, or the friends that they keep, or what they're involved in. That whole kind of like chapter of their reality, or that person, or things associated with that. It's almost like that has gone away, to where that concept of like maybe in another life, it's like they've turned over a new leaf, or their life is different than what you would have remembered it, or the context in which you would have known them. So this is almost the sense of like, maybe this is that other life. So this is somebody that has like gone out of their way to like, they've like Googled you, they've searched for you, they've kind of like quietly and sort of incognito tried to retrace their steps to the place within themselves or within their life of kind of like where they remember you, how to pick up where you left off in some sort of way, how to kind of like present themselves almost with the sense of kind of like, and I'm hearing fancy meeting you here. So it may be somebody that is almost kind of like trying to sort of track you down or figure out what you have going on, because they want to kind of just, they want to just run into you or spontaneously like see you out and about. They're thinking about that eye contact and kind of like, almost like if these walls could speak, that there was so much potential between the two of you, something where it's like, I've never felt that intense sense of urgency, and yet that it was totally off limits, as I had experienced in those moments where we were eye to eye with one another, and yet the truth was never said. It's almost like somebody who wants to utilize that. Like they don't just want to pop up in your email. They don't just want to pop up in the DMs. They don't want to have something virtually, but it's almost like I need to see you face to face in order to grasp that key between the two of us that existed at one point in time, to see, are these seeds of potential still viable? So it's somebody that it feels like would have the ability to like encounter you out and about, encounter you in some kind of a familiar space, or is trying to kind of find a way, find some sort of mutual ground or territory that would create the opportunity for like a face-to-face encounter, something that it feels like would be a long time coming, that wouldn't be just, oh, that was serendipity that here we both are, but something that's very like intentional, very contrived, almost like I just need to see you kind of energy, and I need you to see me. So let's take a look at if they will speak up about these feelings. Are they going to do anything about this? Okay, so we have panther, hawk, and rabbit. Yeah, so this is the energy of somebody who is circling. They're watching you like a hawk, or maybe like watching you on social media, or really looking at this situation, looking at the nostalgia that they feel, looking at the possibility of like, I had my eye on you once and I hesitated and you slipped through my fingers. I had my eye on you and I allowed misplaced loyalties in the past to deprive me of the opportunity with you, and I won't make that same mistake twice. It feels like there's a lot of tension with this energy of rabbit, like somebody that is clenched up. It's almost giving the energy of kind of like someone getting ready to run a race, and they've taken the position. They're sort of, all the muscles are tight, and they're just waiting for, the sound to usher them forth. They're waiting for that kind of bell to go off, or that moment to happen where it's like they're off to the races. They want to do this sooner rather than later, because again, there's a sense of almost like a third energy came through, or was like an obstacle in the past. And so they're seeing and sensing that there's a window of opportunity here. This is somebody who feels very determined and almost very possessive over this opportunity. Like they may be very quiet about this, not talking to other people about it, because in the past that could have been the thing that opened the door to somebody else stepping in, or they took too long in that energy of trying to like over intellectualize things, and somebody who was able to kind of just take those leaps of faith or operate on a whim in some sort of way inserted themselves in the situation that put you out of reach. And so there's a sense of like they're moving in the shadows, they're moving very quietly, they're trying to sort of, again, like in an incognito way, plan their move, take that action step, because there's a lot of certainty that kind of the power of that eye contact, all that unspoken potential, it's almost haunted this person. You definitely would be chalked up as one of their regrets. Like they hate that they hesitated. They hate that they even gave their loyalty over to someone else and that person's preferences or proclamations in this situation, because whatever that other energy is, it ended with this person and them. It ended badly. It's not just, oh, we're not talking right now, or this wouldn't be the sense of like, they're cool with it, I checked in, they're cool with it. It's like, no, we're not a part of our lives anymore. And they went from like friend to enemy. They are not someone whose opinion I care about in the least. I don't ask their approval anymore. I don't factor them into like my life decisions. And so you're one of those people, or one of those situations that it's like, this always left a bad taste in my mouth. I always wondered what would have happened if it were you and me. I always wondered what would have happened if I just shut up and done something instead of like talking to people, getting opinions, letting my mind sort of back me into a corner in terms of fear. So again, this is somebody that feels like that wants to kind of swoop in. They want to encounter you face to face. And so this may be kind of the process of like planning something, waiting for something. The idea of the holidays is also kind of coming through here as kind of a convenient excuse. Like it's not just serendipity to like run into you somewhere, but something that may involve like parties or gatherings or events where it's like a high likelihood they would see you, or they could just kind of excuse it as like, oh, you're here too, fancy meeting you here, oh, long time no see, remember me, that kind of thing. But it's very conscious, it's very intentional. So it feels like for this group, yes, this person is definitely planning on taking a step forward towards you, to have that face-to-face interaction. So let's get some message cards from their higher self and see what they want you to know. Okay, and they say, I will provide a solid foundation for us. I will always be someone you can rely on. So they are seeing like whoever this third person was, whether it was like an ex or somebody that just kind of like wasted your time, a situationship, somebody that fumbled you or kept you as an option, or, kind of like claimed a position in a situation with you and then like didn't do anything about that. There's a sense of you deserve better than them. They were never worthy of you. I could have treated you right. I could have loved you right. I would have done things different. And so again, there's a sense of like they see a window of opportunity or getting ready to create a window of opportunity, because it's sat very heavily with them. This might have been somebody that's been like years and years since you've seen one another. And it's like that always sort of bothered them. Their inaction in this situation, the things that they didn't do in this circumstance. This is somebody that almost like wants to do right by you by doing something in the first place because they never did anything before. And they also say, I know you hold the other half to my heart. So this could be something where, again, that eye contact, there was like soul recognition, deja vu, I know you from somewhere, past life connection, definitely somebody you had an interaction with in the past, but it doesn't feel like a romantic ex, like you were never in a relationship with this person, you never had sex with this person, you never even like kissed this person. This is just somebody that there was all this potential and somebody else came in because they hesitated or faltered previously. They also say, I love your sensuality. I yearn for your touch. So they think that you are even more attractive now. You have aged like a fine wine. You have ripened. They thought you were beautiful or handsome before, and you are simply breathtaking now. So this is definitely somebody that is highly motivated and incentivized to shoot their shot, make their move, try and kind of scratch beneath the surface of all of that untapped potential. They also say, my love for you runs so deep. Yeah, so you have not been a person that's like out of sight, out of mind. They may have gone on into other romantic connections. You might have had romantic connections, but it's like they always have come back around to you. The what if. You almost would be qualified as like the one that got away, because there's a sense of like, I can't get over that curiosity of what might have been between the two of us. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got V, C, M, N, U, T, H, F, P, K, V, Z, R, G, Y, X, F, Q, H, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the blue fluorite heart. So let's start by taking a look at who has developed romantic feelings for you. Okay, we have stay true and be in your power. Mother of life, and the lunar queen. So this is definitely giving the vibes of somebody who sits in balanced masculine energy, who has developed romantic feelings for you, regardless of gender, if this is a man or a woman. This is somebody who has gone through trials and tribulations in their life, has needed to reinvent themselves, or in some way go through a process of like death and rebirth, awakening, ascension, somebody that has like a before and after, some kind of major cataclysmic event that happened in their life, either self-induced or something that was kind of just a series of unfortunate events that caused them to have to turn their life around in some sense, reinvent themselves, start over. So this can be somebody that has recently like relocated to where you live. This person could be somebody that is part of like a shared community. It might be a virtual community, you know, as far as like empowerment or healing or anything that has to do with kind of, because it feels like you might have taken different routes to come to this place of reinvention for yourselves, because it feels like you share some sort of common theme with this person. Either you've had very similar experiences and struggles, so it's maybe somebody who is part of like a support group or a community in that sense that you're involved with. either like in your actual physical community, or again, it could be something virtual. But it feels like the nature of how you've each come to like certain resources or a place of like nothing changes if nothing changes, and so I have to be the one to like take that step for myself. It was motivated by different things. You may have utilized different modalities, different belief systems, different teachings to come to this place with being okay with whatever was lost or whatever you had to leave behind or whatever was taken from you, and to instead direct those focus and those energies towards building towards tomorrow. But it feels like you have a lot in common with one another in terms of you've had to like reparent yourselves in some way, or again, kind of just change the way the world perceives each of you. And so there's a sense of almost somebody who can really understand what you've been through or what you've gravitated towards or leaned upon for strength, because they themselves have found strength and meaning within those same things. So this isn't the kind of person you would have to like spend a lifetime translating your soul to. This is somebody who speaks that language. This is somebody who understands concepts and beliefs that are meaningful to you. So maybe somebody that is part of like a religious community, a spiritual community, anything to do with like wellness, healing, wholeness, mind, body, soul connection, you know, to get kind of the most just sort of 3D or material about it. This can be somebody, if you've gone on like a fitness journey or like a health journey, like a wellness journey, this could be somebody that you know or that has seen you at the gym, where, you know, they may have struggled with weight or health issues and needed to kind of turn their life around in some sort of way. If any of that applied to you as well, or even if you're just like, I don't feel very good about myself, let me do something to change that, and that motivated you to kind of take steps, you could intersect with this person in that way. Like they've seen you in that capacity. You know, you may have had exchanges or interactions in that sense. But this is somebody who's very aligned with the version of you or whatever you're involved with, to kind of like step into or maintain that stance of kind of like whatever was the case before, whatever is the case yesterday, I'm committed to kind of like choosing better or becoming better. You know, my best life it starts now, it's tomorrow in its own way. It was yesterday. Like whatever you've needed to do or whatever you found strength within in that capacity, this person is in that community. That person is in that that sort of circle, to where there's somebody, it feels like that when you see this person, you may catch this person like staring at you from afar. If it's something where there's the ability to have like group interactions, or you know, you're sharing experiences, sharing stories, things like that, when it's your turn to talk or when it's your turn to share, it feels like this person they're fixated on you. It's unmistakable that they're very engaged in what you're saying. They're actively listening to you. They may be somebody who has asked a lot of follow-up questions, who has already made the effort to try and like get to know you in some sort of way. They may sit by you often or try to like go out of their way to be near you. I'm hearing save you a seat. So it may even be somebody that, you know, in some kind of like group or meeting or something that goes on, it's kind of like if they show up before you get there, like they're saving a seat for you, or they've gone out of, they may have like be somebody that's given you their seat. They've gone out of their way to kind of like accommodate you in some kind of capacity, that you might have just almost thought, oh, they're a nice person. It feels like this is a nice person, but you might have just sort of chalked it up to like, oh, they were just being nice, or you know, what a kind person, what a nice gesture. But it feels like this is definitely somebody that above and beyond that kind of just trying to be like helpful and friendly to people, there are definitely like feelings and interest here. So you would already identify this person as very generous in terms of like what they've demonstrated to you so far. Any kind of conversations or anything where you've been around them, it's like you're very at ease with this person energetically. It may have even been something that you could have been paired up or put in a group with this person for something that can involve anything as far as different sort of like practices, teaching, techniques, anything where you'd kind of get together in a larger setting, and there may have been sort of branching off into smaller groups. It's possible this could be like a work connection even, or a school connection, like somebody you go to college with or night school with. And if there have been any kind of like group projects, it definitely would have been somebody like involved in that. Or if it was kind of like group discussions, again, there would have been a lot of like feedback or exchange between the two of you. Something where this person might have even kind of called you out in terms of like, yeah, they're right, or I agree with that, or, that was really inspirational. Like they've already kind of given you props in some sort of way where you would associate this person with kind of like, okay, this is someone friendly. This isn't just like random person or face in the crowd, but you already equate them with like feelings of pleasantness, or they come across as like a pleasant person. So maybe somebody who's very soft spoken, but yet also opinionated. Like they're very empowered, but it's somebody that they may be very selective with their words. Like their words hold weight. So they're not just kind of blathering on about anything. It's when they speak, people stop to listen. And you may be very much the opposite. You may be the kind of person that's sort of like you're filling the space with, chatter or nervous chatter. You may have a different way of sort of expressing yourself, very gregarious, very detailed. And this person would present as almost like the opposite. Like they're almost a good receiver for the energy that you're putting off. It's like yin to the yang kind of essence here. But this almost feels like something that if you, because those energies of like yin yang, masculine, feminine, they exist in everyone regardless of gender. Like we all have both. But this is the kind of person that almost like, if you're a female and you're inclined to kind of step into your empowered masculine energy, this would almost be like a man, for example, that would just sort of naturally defer to like his receptive, active listening yin stance within, this feminine stance within that would feel appropriate within the circumstance. Like this is not somebody that is threatened by your personal empowerment. This is not somebody that would try to belittle you or would be in competition. This is almost somebody that may be very attracted to people standing in their personal power. They've made note of that, or have made it obvious in some sort of way. It just even through the fact that they may want to like sit near you, be near you, they make an effort to kind of seek you out first, or say hello to you first, things like that, because there's a sense of, this almost represents kind of the essence of like two people who have sort of come to understand in their own ways and kind of balance those energies within, to where this could be a very different positioning in terms of your interactions so far compared to like other romantic partners, the way other romantic partners would have perceived these aspects of either of you. Like this could be somebody that like previous romantic partners could have perceived that active listening, that's, almost like a man who can sit in that feminine or that yin energy as kind of a pushover, as passive, as just a beta, as just kind of like a weak man. But there's a sense that if you kind of sitting in your empowered masculine energy might have been perceived as too bullish, too bossy, a know-it-all, or very too aggressive. It's almost like you each have been criticized for aspects within yourself that you've been like working to nurture, or have kind of just been sort of thrust into through your experiences in life. Like this is just what you had to embody. It's almost like it fits very well in a non-judgmental and critical way with one another, that is a far cry from how these aspects within each of you that you may have just said, well, I guess I'm the only one that celebrates this. Like you wouldn't factor these, almost like these shadow parts, like that would be lovable, that this is actually, this represents the kind of energy of, it flows between the two of you so well that if something develops in terms of romance, there's really an opportunity to have love showered upon each of these parts within you that were like undervalued or underappreciated by people previously. And that can just be people in general or other romantic partners. It feels like conversations you've had with this person, or kind of just like surface level chit chat, it would be the kind of person where it's like it feels like you're catching up with an old friend. They might have felt very familiar when you first met them, or kind of like if you were the stranger in the room, you know, you're entering like a group setting for the first time. This might have been the person that you just instinctively went and sat next to them. They instinctively went and sat next to you, like two magnets kind of drawn towards one another in kind of like a mundane sort of sense. Like your energies just kind of like pulled each other towards one another. And so there's a sense that when you see this person or interact with this person, their body language, or kind of the subtle cues and intonations that they give, it's almost like if this person were to confess these feelings, it wouldn't catch you off guard. It wouldn't be surprising. It would almost seem like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's inevitable. So let's get a little bit more about who this person is. Okay, so we have the Four of Cups, the Hermit, and the Page of Cups. So this person could be an artist, that could be a trade, that could be a profession, that could be something, that could be how you like know this person. There could be something involved in, you know, artistry, either like physical media, dance, singing. This can even be somebody that is like an instructor, and you're taking lessons from this person, or vice versa. They're your student, like your, you know, adult student in that sense. So this can be something that's like a continuing education, night classes, even something like a local kind of museum or gallery offers, or something that you might have sought out, or this person might have sought out in terms of like, okay, I want to create some hobbies or interests for myself. And so that can be kind of this common ground where you both know one another. There's a sense here that there could be an age difference between the two of you, and also that this person looks a lot younger than like their biological age, or they've got very much like a childlike sense of wonder with which they look to the world, or they're almost kind of like anything is possible. Like that somebody's had to like start their life over again in some way, and yet they're not embittered by that. They're almost kind of like, okay, what does the future have in store for me? Somebody that may have a good sense of humor in terms of just little almost like corny jokes or things that they say. They may be somebody who's kind of witty, where they have already like had you laughing. They already bring a smile to your face, or they bring a smile to people's face. Somebody that is very like friendly, puts other people at ease. Definitely something to where, again, that idea of like you've already caught this person checking you out, looking at you. This is not a situation that would just totally catch you off guard. Again, somebody who's kind of like soft-spoken, introverted, keeps to themselves, but they're very sweet. This might be somebody that is habitually kind of friend-zoned, or somebody that, you know, they may be very, people might gravitate towards them as like a listening ear. That especially applies if this is like a man sitting in that yin energy, that feminine energy. The role that he would take on with just people or romantic partners is kind of like, it may be all about that other person. It may be all about kind of managing other people's stress or chaos. This person definitely could be an empath, or like a highly sensitive person where just kind of like strangers come forth and just tell all their troubles. People come to this person in their hour of need. They may also work in a profession where they're counseling people, or they're like a first responder, or something in like health and healing. Something where people come to them with like distress or worry, and they help put people back together again, or create some sort of wholeness. And so it feels like in the situation with you, though, this is something where it's like you're helping this person to kind of gladly sit within that aspect within themselves that they may have almost thought is like a burden. This could be somebody that is used to people just draining them dry and then giving nothing in return. Or people come to them in their brokenness and then just sort of abandon this person when they feel better, when they fix their problems. There's a sense of already like reciprocity between the two of you. There may have been some kind of like little gifts, little tokens of affection, little things that this person has said or done that shows you like they pay attention to you. There's care here. There's respect, or there's understanding in some sort of way. This might have also been where you as well have kind of like made note of things with this person, and there's like a deep appreciation where they really feel seen by you or heard or kind of respected, or they're starting to kind of respect this aspect of themselves that is normally trampled over by other people or taken for granted or used to further other people's own sort of like needs or wants. Like there's a sense of feeling that part of them, this kind of generosity, this giver within them, it's in sort of like safe hands with you. Or you might be somebody that has very similar experiences. This is almost the energy of like when two givers indulge in a connection, that's when magic happens. That's sort of what this person is feeling at this point. They're very doe-eyed towards you. They're very much like, wow. They're attracted to kind of however you're sitting within your personal empowerment, within your declaration of sovereignty. It fits very well within what they are attracted to, usually what their usual type and expectation is, but you also embody it in like a healthier way or in a healed way, which is making this person feel very optimistic about almost befriending their type. This might be somebody who's been single for a while, because they could have been like, hey, I keep attracting the same shitty people in different people, and so what can I do within myself in order to change that up a bit? And so there needed to be some kind of like healing, some sort of reinvention, something that again represents kind of like shared community or shared experiences, or you could really relate to one another in that sense of like, hey, I realized I was the common denominator in my own suffering, so I had to be the one to make the change, to where you almost represent kind of a healthier sort of reintroduction, or the ability to relate to what had historically been their type of person, but the wound in them allowed in and attracted in wounded emanations from others. And so there's almost kind of the sense of like, you are the usual type, and yet you're not, because you're more emotionally evolved, or you've taken personal responsibility for yourself in a way that they've never known others to do, or certainly others that fit in that category of like, this is the type of person that I like, that I'm attracted to, that I consistently kind of have in my life or invite into my life. So let's take a look and see if they're going to speak up about these feelings or make a move. Okay, so we have lion, fish, and lamb. So yeah, they're sitting in a very, you bring out kind of the, I am empowered by holding space for you to stand in your empowerment kind of energy. It feels like this person will continue to kind of like give you hints or indicators, giving like a wiggly kind of energy. So dance or things having to do with spontaneity may relate to this connection, but it's almost like this person is going to dangle the lure in front of you. And this may be part of like where you're at on your journey in general. If you have been like, hey, I'm never chosen, I'm never somebody's first option, nothing's ever working out for me, you've had to kind of like deal with that, then this almost feels like a situation, because again, it wouldn't surprise you that this person is like attracted or has developed feelings. So this could be like a mutual sort of like, yeah, I get along with that person, the vibe is right. This may be that confirmation that you need or that you're looking for, or that kind of creates the inspiration in the near future to be the one to like take charge, take power in this situation. Because this person finds you very sexy when you're standing in that power, when you're speaking your truth, when you're speaking your mind, when you're doing what's best for you. That aligns entirely with what they have come to understand is what they need for like a safe partnership. Somebody that isn't just going to offload all of their emotional fulfillment onto someone else. Somebody that isn't going to make somebody else kind of responsible for if they're in a good mood or not, if life is treating them well or not. It's like you've taken power over those matters in your life. And so it feels like this can definitely be almost like a soulmate sort of energy. So something where the furtherance of this possibility between the two of you, most likely you having to be the one to initiate this. And it feels like it would be pretty recognizable who this is at the time you're like watching this reading, or it'll become very quickly apparent like, oh, that's that person, that they're very receptive to you taking the lead in this situation. And that doesn't mean you have to always take the lead, but for this next step forward, it's almost like they're giving you all the cues and indicators, you know, like there's a bite, what you're putting out, the way you present, you know, it's attracted this person in. They've taken the bait. They're on the line. They're kind of like right there. You just got to reel them in. And so this can represent that challenge of like, you might have been so conditioned to, you know, just operate in that energy of like the pick me, sort of like choose me. I'll do whatever I need to do in order to kind of reach that place within where someone will choose me. And it's almost like this may bring that journey full circle by you choosing yourself and taking action to at least knock on the door of possibility with somebody that has given you signs and indicators of like, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I'm ready. That it's almost like for where you're at, you being the one to assert yourself activates this person into a place of knowing that like there's a space for their receptivity for what they've presented to you, but then how they're situated. And then you'll see that lamb turn into the lion. You'll see that person kind of come out of this hermit mode, introvert, soft-spoken, and it's like that's how you get beneath the surface with this individual to where they can show you maybe a more emotionally evolved or emotionally stable version of love and partnership than you've known before. Only it comes about not through someone coming in and like whisking you off your feet, but you being the one to do the choosing. You saying, this is what I'm interested in, and taking that step forward, seizing the moment rather than continuing to hold space for someone else to do that and then being like disappointed. So it feels like the ball's in your court in this situation to take the next step forward with this individual, but they're very open to it. It's almost like they're sitting in this energy of like, yes, please say something, do something. Even if you just kind of push the conversation in the direction of like flirtation or, you know, kind of like mentioning things out and about or, you know, things of that nature to kind of bring your interactions beyond just what they've been up to this point. This person is very receptive to that. They'll pick up on that right away, and it wouldn't just be like awkwardness on your part. So let's get some messages from their higher self and see what they want you to know. Okay, and they say, when I hear your voice in my head, I know you are guiding me. So this person has a lot of respect for you, for your journey, for what you've been through, for where you're at in your life right now. And there's a sense of like, I want to be a part of it. I want on board. Let me know how I can help. How can I support this, what you've got going on? So it feels like this person has all the makings for a very, it's almost given like power couple energy, but through the sense of not like too intense and like highly aggressively sort of ambitious people, but almost a sense of fluidity between dancing in between those roles of the yin to the yang for one another. And so in this kind of introductory phase, there's a sense of like this person, you know, maybe their primary love language is holding space, or, you know, being in that receptive mode, and that's never been appreciated by anyone. It's been like overlooked, used, taken advantage of. And so there's a sense of like this person is sort of a threshold for you to cross into, to experience something where who you are is celebrated and you can continue to flourish, rather than who you are being perceived as threatening, or, you know, being criticized and kind of cut down to size in some way. They also say, I've never been more motivated. Get ready for me. So this definitely confirms that this person gets very excited in your presence, very like they've thought about this. Like if you were to ask them out, or you were to kind of give any sort of hints or suggestions of the possibility that you'd be interested in seeing or speaking to this person or hanging out with this person outside of the context of where you currently see them, they jump at that opportunity. They leap at that. And there's some part of them within, it's not even like a feeling of like a fear of rejection. You definitely could have some kind of soul contract with one another, where there's almost a sense of their intuition encouraging them to kind of just hold space, that there's something, some mechanism within them that is like, you need to be the one to kind of give that green light, and then I can rise to the occasion and show you what I'm capable of in terms of romance. They also say, I've never felt this strongly about anyone. So they definitely have explored the possibilities of what can happen between the two of you in the future. They don't just want to be friends. They don't just want to be somebody that's like on the outskirts of your life. This is somebody that, you know, has thought about that, what it could be to date you, what it could be like to be intimate with you. They've thought about little moments. They've thought about big moments, maybe a very romantic person, a very sensitive person, somebody that has a lot of love to give, and you've definitely awakened that inside of them. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got F, D, R, O, F, P, Z, B, U, P, S, G, Q, V, J, W, B, M, and T. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.